Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, a video game show where I'm joined every week by someone who relaxes by playing hardcore permadeath MMOs. It's Sema. Hello there, Sema.
That's exactly right. Hello there, Max. How are you doing?
Yeah, so I'm getting ready for the show. I DM Sema. I'm like, I think we got everything. Anything you want to throw into the last minute, throw into the notes? And she says, oh yeah, I was like chilling out on the side, relaxing a little bit and doing some WoW Hardcore. Like chilling out and hardcore.
Yeah.
I don't really know how that mixes, but so tell me about that. How is that chilling out doing WoW Hardcore?
So the way you play WoW Hardcore is you do things very carefully. Like you pull one thing at a time and you adjust your expectations for how fast things are going to be, and you just sort of be in the moment. Like if I have like half an hour to kill and I want to do something sort of chill, I can go into WoW Hardcore and kill whatever, work on the quest that I'm working on.
But you're not clenched up the whole time, because you if you go into a cave where you got to kill the spiders and talk to the dude in the cave, you still have to you can't go too slow because you'll get respawns.
Well, okay. I do take an effort not to go into caves.
Okay.
Unless I really have a reason, and I do. So far, I've been able to kill my way in and kill my way out.
Yeah.
But I know that's going to change, right? Because how in early levels all the mobs are neutral anyway, but not in the caves. But that's extra chill when the mobs are neutral, right?
Yeah. Right.
When you can't. I will say though that I did have a dream one night where I was fighting a mob on my little gnome mage, and another mob came, and I decided, better part of valor, to run away. No, actually, in the dream, I got knocked back. That's what it was. I got knocked back, and I went over a cliffside, but I had slow fall for some reason, so I hit my slow fall key, and I started slow, so I didn't die from the knockback. But when I landed, it was in an area of really high level mobs. And so I aggroed this really high level mob, and I started running away from that. And there was another cliff. So I jumped off of that, and my slow fall was still going. And I landed and I hearthed out, and then I was safe. So I have these complete nightmares that actually have a happy ending.
In your mind, you're chill and you're relaxing, you're taking it careful, but deep in your subconscious, you are freaking out. And that manifests when you get into the
right. It was one of those dreams too, where I wasn't aware of it until later in the day, and I was like, what kind of zone was that? I don't remember that zone at all. And I'm like, wait a minute, did that even happen? No, it didn't. I was kind of disappointed.
I think because I'm doing so much development and that kind of thing, and I have a lot of things on my mind and playing a lot of different video games and solving all these puzzles. I've been having a lot more dreams in the past couple months. Some of them are really vivid. In fact, I have to look it up because I wrote it down. I had this long dream where Tom Merritt came to Chicago for whatever reason. He was visiting Chicago.
Awesome.
And I met him downtown. I'm like, Tom, I'll show you around. We'll go. In fact, what I'm going to do, Tom, is let's go to this is like a famous Chicago thing. We're going to go to a Chicago coffee shop, and we're going to get a Mercado, which is a Chicago coffee drink. And
is it really, or is this, did you dream it?
No, it's not. It was, I made this drink up in my dream, but it was
very detailed.
We had to go to two different coffee shops. Then we finally found it. And it was kind of like a latte, but it's steamed cream instead of steamed milk. I had a recipe. I woke up in the morning and I got on my phone and I'm looking up this drink. I'm like, this is not real. This doesn't exist. But now I've invented a new coffee drink. I got to call Starbucks. And I got to call Tom.
Right.
It was so weird. So
I want to know now, can you even steam cream? I bet you.
I don't know. Would it curdle? I don't know. But now I guess I need to find out, and I need to patent it right away.
Yes, you can.
In the real world, we have game news that we could also talk about.
Good news, everyone!
I had a dream that No Man's Sky was dropping another update. And 3 days ago, Sean Murray put an emoji. 2 days ago, he put 2 emojis. Then yesterday, he put the cowboy emoji. And that means it's releasing the next morning. And then this morning, we got a new update for No Man's Sky. All in that fast. All that in that way. And it's a full-on update. So we've got a new update for No Man's Sky. It is called No Man's Sky Relics. It basically adds archaeology to No Man's Sky. It's not super big, but it's got a lot of fun. It kind of as big as the fishing update was. In fact, I would say not even as big as the fishing update was. But
I mean, anytime you add a new ability, that's major.
You could always dig up bones, but they just were just like an icon in your inventory that you sold for money. It was never like a physical thing. This turns the bones that you dig up also into physical things that you then you install this little platform that you create. It's cheap, where in any of your bases or your freighter, you install this little platform that allows you then to take any of the bone pieces that you've gathered and assemble them into a creature. And I guess there's tons of these bone pieces, so you can assemble. Like here, they're assembling a
living creature.
No, like a museum exhibit. So you get to snap the bones together into the slots.
That's kind of cool. Yeah.
And then once you snap them together into the slots, then you can pick it back up as a unit and deploy it. Then, like here, you see, it's got the skull slot, the torso slot, upper limbs, lower limbs, and tail.
What do you mean deploy it?
Then you can deploy it then in its completed form. You collect it with those 5 bones into an item in your inventory that's like a blueprint. You could give that to someone else, and they could, install it as an exhibit in their outpost or whatever.
Or you can vendor it, right?
Or you can vendor it for lots of money. Yeah, it's a cool little thing. And
this tells me that Light No Fire is going to have archaeology,
right? Yes. Also, it introduced a couple, they call them guardian mobs. So when you're digging up the bones, there's a couple of these like weird sphere things on the ground, and it's called like a stone eye. And, you press E to poke the eye. That's basically the pop-up text. And if you poke the eye, then this guardian pops up out of the ground and you get to fight it. And if you fight it, sometimes it drops that eye object as a piece of loot, which sells for a lot of money. And some of the new material that's used to build some of the ruins building pieces that they added to the game in the last couple of updates, which again probably come from Light No Fire, a bunch of like the ruins stuff. But yeah, so fun little update. There will be an expedition. So maybe in the next week or two when that expedition launches, because it's always delayed until they can get the update out on all of the platforms and all the consoles. When that expedition comes out, we'll talk about it more, because I'm sure the expedition will have you playing Indiana Jones, going around from planet to planet, digging up bones, assembling different skeletons and that kind of thing. So that'll be cool. I also wondered, I don't think it is, and they probably would have said, but 2 Point Museum just released is kind of a big deal, and assembling skeletons in the museum it's a very minor thing. You have tons of exhibits in your museum, but dinosaur skeletons in your museum is something that 2 Point Museum does. It almost feels like a little bit of a tribute or a nod to them as well. That game's getting a lot of
it does feel like that.
A lot of good kudos, which it seems to be deserved, which is nice. Other game news that's very relevant to my interest. Oh, Sema, so we got another one of our buds hooked on Machete, who's on the show, talking about the Return to Moria survival game. We've got him now hooked on survival games, and we're probably going to get back into, as a new Overlords community, get back into Ark.
I mean,
on the
in
island.
fairness, he was already a fan of survival games because he was playing that 7 Days to Die.
Right.
Yeah,
7 Days to Die. But that was, I think, like 7 Days to Die was where he sort of like first scratched the surface, and then he totally ate up Return to Moria. In fact, he's completed the campaign,
right?
Which is cool. He posted some of his final photos in there in our Discord off of that. But I talked up Ark to the point where he downloaded it and he was already playing it last night for an hour. So we're going to stand up another fresh start, brand new server. Nazrai is going to host that for us. And we will be back in Ark a little bit the next week or two. But I'm also talking him up. I'm priming him already for Dune Awakening. So we did get some Dune Awakening news. This is going to be a real fun one, I think, to play with friends. There will be the PvP areas. That's the part that we're going to have to see. When you go into the deep desert, is that going to be too annoying? And is it going to be filled with a bunch of elite dudes that kill everybody and make it no fun? If there's enough room in there and enough room to sort of like stretch and people that aren't like warring, elite warlords to be able to play, long term, that might be a fun game. If not, it'll still be a fun game in the short term. This news that came out this week, though, was all about the pricing model and where it's sort of like how that's going to come out, what you're going to have to pay for and what you're not. They will have like an Ultimate Edition. The Deluxe and Ultimate Edition will have a 5-day head start. And there's a little bit of angst around that. People are saying, any game that has like pay an extra $20 to get into the 5-day head start, that's it. I'm never playing that game. People are saying that. The video that they put out, which just sort of explains the pricing models, one of the things that they said was really helps them out when you do something like that as a game developer, which is what they're hoping for, is we can like have some of the people starting a few days early and some of the people then starting on the actual launch date. And that helps us like make sure the servers work and gets, it smooths out. So it's not like 1 million people starting in one day. It's like 500,000 starting, the first couple days and then another round starting a week later. It helps them. You could see still people can feel however they want to feel about it, though. Having to pay extra for a head start doesn't always feel great if you're not paying for it. But you could also see the value in both money and in smoothing out that launch for them. You do get other things with those 2 editions, though, as well, a bunch of cosmetics and things like that, too. As well as like a first version of their season pass. So they are going to have a season pass, and their season pass does include a couple rounds of DLC that comes with a season pass. Although the fact that there's a season pass also has people have a little bit of angst around it. But it's not a subscription fee, and this is a live service game. They got to have some sort of model to support the ongoing development and the hosting of the servers and that kind of thing. So it's got to be like cash shop, cosmetics. It's got to be some combination of things to support a game development team to keep a game alive. So I don't begrudge them that either. And a season pass that has fun things that get added to the game seems like a fine way to do that to me. But the reactions have been a little bit spicy around it, but it's like forum reactions that I'm reading. So some of that might just be like, the two dudes who are angry about it. That's all I'm reading. And maybe everybody else is perfectly fine about it, but those range from, from everything from something reasonable, like, paying extra to get 5 days early access doesn't feel good to me. I'm going to wait and see. All the way to what? They want money at all for the last 5 years of 100 people working on their lives? No, that's I will never pay money for anything ever. So that doesn't seem very fair and not a reasonable reaction. But we'll see how it comes out. I am going to pre-order, and I'll probably get the deluxe edition. Oh, I don't know. I could end up with the ultimate edition if I feel like the season pass stuff is going to really entice me. I wouldn't mind getting in early because that sounds really fun. I don't know yet, though, and this is kind of where I would be. I'm going to wait and see. Is this going to be a game that I would be playing long term? And I don't know yet because I don't know how that PvP is really going to feel and how the wiping of the deep desert is going to feel. So it might be a good one to not get the deluxe edition and get those season pass later if you were really up for it. Oh, I'll see where I go from there. How about you, Sema? You buying that ultimate edition because you want to kill people and suck their blood out and turn it into water in the deep desert?
I couldn't be less into Dune.
Really? Were you never like
Frankly.
a big Dune fan? Would you ever like
No.
Dune book? You weren't.
I did read the book because, it's required reading.
Yeah.
But I didn't fall in love with it, and I've never played any Dune games.
I did really like
it's just
the book.
not a world that I want to live in, so yeah.
Yeah. I did really like the book. I would put it in my top 10 sci-fi books of all time. Still.
Yeah, that's very different from I just felt like, yeah, that was a book. I get it.
I mean, I've read it over the years, probably. I don't reread many books, and this book I've probably read 3 times all the way through. So yeah. So it did kind of connect to me, especially because it could be different times in your life too. As I was like my young impressionable years, it kind of like the whole fear is a mind killer, and like using your mind was like really kind of gelled with me, and I internalized that as in my formative years. So I kind of glommed onto that. And then it's like the underdog, zero to hero, the Fremen coming out of the desert, it kind of got hooked me too. Anyway, speaking of DLC, someone else who's releasing some DLC, which is a little bit of surprise, and it's free DLC, Dragon Age the Veilguard. So that's nice. The people that are still into that and didn't hate it for unreasonable reasons. What is with IGN and these they've got these little subtitles on their articles. So the Dune Awakening article, the little subtitle was "Spicy Take," period. And the little subtitle on the Dragon Age. So Dragon Age the Veilguard gets surprise free update weapon DLC after months without an update. And then the little, regular text subtitle is "Defiant Silence," period. I don't know what they're doing there.
Yeah,
they're trying something. They're trying a little something there. Okay. I really like IGN. Oh, I missed that in the news. We'll talk about it next week. Is it Game Informer who got reinstated as a publication, and all of their reporters got hired back on?
Oh, did they?
Yes. So that's a nice news story. I'll follow up on that. I didn't get a chance to read into it, but that just happened in the last couple of days. Speaking of game news about game news, meta game news. I think it's Game Informer that happened to. Well, I'll follow up on that. We'll talk about that more next week because that's a nice story for those people and their careers. But yeah, just a little bit for people that are interested in Dragon Age the Veilguard and the fact that there's more development going on for it, and people just got that's just a little weapon DLC, weapon skins. That's cool. That's cool for those people. Tell me about this next story, Sema. So you said you were playing a little bit of WoW Hardcore. Did you experience any of the DDoSes? And tell me what's going on with that.
I did not, because I just tried to not play during those times. But there's basically is a lot of drama around it, and part of that is inspired by the fact that Blizzard has said they are taking steps to restore characters from the latest DDoS attack. And they did not say that. They didn't say the latest DDoS. They said they were taking steps to restore people's characters that were lost during mass events, or some wording like that. So I don't know whether they're going back to previous, and they're talking about documented DDoS attacks too.
Yeah.
So I feel like, yes, they can, and I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like, yes, they can tell when a DDoS is happening, and they can maybe tell the beginning and the end. And I don't know. And then they can look at a death and say, was it during combat, or did they just fall, did they just drown?
Right.
Or jump off a mountain or something. But I think they've taken on a bit of a task if they're going to. I don't know if they're going to try to do some kind of decision process, or if they're just going to mass res. I'm waiting to see. the reactions are mixed, as you can imagine, right? Because a lot of people feel like the reason this has a lot of light shining on it right now is because a raid that was made up of mostly of streamers got hit, and they lost almost everybody in the raid. In fact, they must have lost everyone in the raid. And so there's a lot of like, you're raising the streamers. Why didn't you raise it before it was the streamers?
Right. For one.
For one, yeah. And then, but that actually, yeah, right. Like how much, and then some people are saying if hardcore can only be alive because of this group of streamers, then maybe hardcore should just be allowed to die.
Right.
Don't raise the streamers. So I think people are jumping to the conclusion that it's only streamers that are going to be raised, but I'm willing to see how that's going to work out. Personally, like I say, my gameplay in hardcore is chill. I'm never going to be raiding in hardcore.
Right.
Like if I get to 60, I will consider that I've won, right? Which is the first time I've had that feeling in any version of WoW.
Right. Exactly. And that's a fine achievement and a fine way to play that. And I think like the people who raid in hardcore, that's a whole different thing. It's a different. They're in a rush to get to end game, and that's how they die, right? And that's how anybody dies. They take risks, or else they don't know they're taking a risk. But yeah, and then like I grouped up with one guy to kill some trogs, and that made me nervous because like this guy, I don't know him. I don't know if he's going to make some huge blunder and pull a bunch of trogs, right? Right. That's the closest when I was playing hardcore, that was the closest I came to death was with other people around because maybe they value their life much less than I do. And, or the other time I nearly bought it was, you see someone else in trouble. You're like, okay, well, what do I do?
Oh, right. Yeah.
They took on too much. So I could come to their aid, then they're going to die. And now all of their trouble is mine.
Right.
So that's a tough one. But in this case, this is, you're right. And I think the bigger picture is, as you allude to, Blizzard is now sort of like buying themselves a little bit of trouble here potentially because they've now put themselves in the position of having to arbitrate over these mass attacks potentially. They are inviting criticism when they don't respond to the next attack or the next perceived attack. Like I died, that was a DDoS. I know it was a DDoS. Well, it wasn't. They know it wasn't. None of their content servers show it's a DDoS. But now people are going to be mad because they feel like it was, and Blizz is now just covering it up because they don't want to res me. So they're putting themselves in that position.
Yeah, so you have it on the screen right now. So Blizzard used the words, mass event, right? And then they said, no other event are we going to raise people for. And there's a number of people who read that as, and I don't know how they get there exactly, but they res that as, we were only going to res streamers. We're not going to res you plebes.
Yeah, I don't.
And that's what you're mad about.
No.
Yeah, right.
People were reading that as the stream event was the mass event. No, they're saying that the mass event they deem inconsistent with the integrity of games, they say it right there, such as a DDoS attack, not a DDoS attack on streamers.
Right.
But
there's also,
DDoS.
Within that, there's also a number of people who don't believe there have been any DDoS attacks.
Right.
They believe it's a failure on Blizzard's part somehow to maintain their servers correctly. And so they use the word DDoS to cover up their ineptitude or their evilness or something.
Right. Or whatever. Yeah, whatever conspiracy theory you want to inject there.
Right.
And then the final thing that, my personal conspiracy theory is orchestration of a DDoS attack is not too difficult in today's day and age because there are just botnets that you can go and purchase access to. Say say you're a group of streamers or whatever, and you're also, it's slightly bad actors, or this is now your career. This is like a thing you're doing. You get into a raid. You're fighting Ragnaros. Things are going bad. You're starting to lose a couple people, and you've got your finger. You got a button on your screen number 2 that says do the DDoS attack.
Right.
And then you can go to Blizzard and say, oh my gosh, we were going to kill Ragnaros, res us because there was a DDoS attack.
Right. And not only that, your living depends on drama. So where there's no downside.
Right.
For the streamers, right? They get the clicks and the views whether they get rezzed or not.
Right. Now again, it's a tough spot but
I'm glad it's not my job.
Right. And it's a spot that Blizzard has made for themselves, so they're gonna have to lie in that bed that they've made. And they didn't do anything wrong, but it's tough, and I don't envy them being in that position. So, who I do envy is Microsoft, because they've publishing so many good games lately. In fact, a game that is coming to Game Pass tomorrow. Isn't Microsoft publishing this? I don't know. This is a bad segue. Anyway, let's talk about what's coming soon, because I am excited about this one that is coming soon. Although now I'm in this weird spot where I've got too many games to play right now, Sema.
You're always in that spot.
I would keep playing. You're right. I don't know what I'm complaining about.
Remember when it was 2023 and we were saying, oh, can't wait for 2024 when things slow down.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't slow down. It didn't happen ever.
So I would keep playing. The game that we're going to talk about today is Assassin's Creed Shadows, because it is amazing, which you'll hear about in a second. But starting tomorrow already is Atomfall. So Atomfall is releasing to Game Pass day 1 tomorrow. I already have it preloaded, so you can go on Game Pass already. By the time you're hearing this, you'll probably it'll already be launched. But I will play this at least a little bit, and I hope I don't love it. I know I'm going to like it. I hope I don't love it, because I've got too many things to play right now. But yeah, so Atomfall is launching tomorrow. There's a countdown on the Game Pass launcher, and you can preload it. We'll see what it looks like tomorrow. Oh my God.
It does look very cool.
It does. And everybody's got a British accent, which I'm a sucker for. So I'm going to be running around. Should I stream it and have me speaking in a bad British accent the whole time? No,
yep.
I would. Yes. I should be banned if I ever did that. But it's a little bit zombie single player. It's sort of like Fallout, but in Britain. Hello, Governor. Oh, I see you got some zombies there. Got a little bit of a zombie problem there. Let me take care of that for you.
I changed my vote. You should not do that.
I told you I should not. I told you that would be terrible. Or I could develop a stiff upper lip and do I can only do one British accent, and it's terrible, and it's not like any British person actually speaks. But there are multiple British accents, and I could develop a different one.
Yours is the Dick Van Dyke English accent.
It's the terrible Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins. Hey, Mary Poppins, it's a lovely day for a chimney sweep. It'd be gay to get a bit of the little soot on your face there, Mary. It's a jolly holiday with you, Mary. Yeah, exactly. There we go. I apologize unreservedly to all the British Isles. Who I will not have to apologize to is the residents of Kazan. Kazan's the person, isn't it? Why is YouTube buffering so? Oh, learn crochet the easy way. So Kazan is also launching tomorrow. The first Berserker, Kazan, is launching tomorrow. I won't be playing this game just because I'm terrible at Souls-likes, and I'm even bad at when I talk about it, I'm bad at like the action combat. And Assassin's Creed, I'm bad at Souls-likes, and I don't have the patience for them because it does a lot. You got to like learn the moves of the boss fight and get the muscle memory down, and just like I could do it if I invested the time, but I don't invest the time, and I don't have fun doing that. However, for the people that do, doesn't this look good, Sema? You and I were talking about the style.
Yeah, it does look good. It looks very good.
So it's cell shaded, but because you're sort of zoomed out and the cell shading is so detailed on the characters, you kind of like don't realize it's cell shaded until you zoom in and look close at what's going on. It is a really cool art style, and the animation and the detail just look really good.
Yeah, and partially that's because too the background and stuff is not.
Yeah, right. It's painted backgrounds, and then it's the cell shaded characters. Both the enemies you fight and Kazan himself is charactered. As you play, it is a full Souls-like, so it's not sort of like just a hard game that people then say is Souls-like. No, you need to like learn all the fights. You need to learn how things work. And if you die, you drop your, sort of like yourself and your soul. You got to go back and catch up to it and do the fights over and over again and that kind of thing. So from what I've heard so far from people who have done the early reviews, it's also very difficult. But for the people that like that kind of game, perfect. It sounds like it's really going to be a good one. So it's more and more on my look. They're like on the boss's, impaled on the boss's staff and getting your life force sucked out of you. Nope, I would have been dead 10 times over already. Kazan has fallen. That would be permanently on my screen. That's why I don't do that game. And then just to wrap it up, the couple other things that have been on our radar that we're continuing to watch. We've said it a couple times, but I'm raising it up again, is Inzoi, because that's coming in 2 days. That's going to be out this week as well. And I saw a headline. I didn't follow up exactly, but the headline said it is now the most wishlisted game on Steam. It beat out Silksong, for example. So, wow. This is, again, it's a group of players that's a vast community that I'm not one of. And so I think this is going to be a big deal. It's the people that like those life sims, the people that play the Sims. And Inzoi, I think, is going to potentially be big. So we'll be interested to see its trajectory.
Here's the thing I don't get. I buy what you're saying is the people who play the Sims, but if you're already playing the Sims, would you give up everything to just try a new simulate? I mean, I struggle with that being an MMO player. Like, it's hard for me to think about getting invested in yet another MMO because I have so much invested in this MMO that I'm playing today or whatever.
True.
So I don't know how that works for Sim players.
I don't know either, but a lot of the way the Sims tends to work, especially with the DLC, seems to be you almost are like starting new stories all the time. So if that's the case, those people could almost feel like this is like another DLC and starting a new story. Because I don't think, you do, there is some there's definitely long-term play where you're like building a house and building a life and that kind of thing for sure. But then there's like the vampire pack where now you like your new sim is a vampire and you go play its vampire life. I don't think you take your 3-year-old sim and its life and suddenly turned that one into a vampire. So maybe you play this on the side as sort of like a new sim experience that you're starting from scratch. I don't know. If it's the most wishlisted game on Steam, there's got to be a few people that are looking forward to it.
Absolutely. No,
So
I totally believe that. I'm just trying to understand it. Yeah.
And here's a game that's coming soon. It's released on April 3rd. It hit the new release radar, and I thought I would bring it up and talk about it because, of course,
you were already thinking of it.
Roman Empire. So in our daily pondering on the Roman Empire, this game is called Roman Triumph, and it's a survival city builder. So it's a city builder game where you're building basically a Roman town and then building it up into like a Roman garrisoning your troops there, and you're holding off the raids. That looked like Cerberus was attacking. I I only threw it in because it's a new one that's launching. I think it's launching early access on April 3rd.
Yeah, early access.
And looked kind of fun. Looked like a fun little city builder, and it was Roman Empire because you really. I was laughing when I was editing our podcast last week when you called me on pondering the Roman Empire as I was. And then the other two that we're watching for in April are South of Midnight, which we talked about, which will be Game Pass Day 1. We've confirmed for April 8th. And then later in the month, April 24th, a really cool looking game, which is that Expedition 33, Clair Obscure Expedition 33. That looks cool. So cool. Lots of fun stuff. We will be covering all of that as it evolves. This podcast is brought to you by lots of things, including the Garden and a Goat game that we are making, but mostly by all of the people that are listening, all the people that are out there in the chat room, both on YouTube and on Twitch this week, the people that are downloading our podcast every week, the people that are watching it as it gets posted to YouTube. We thank all of you out there. Tell your friends. It's a cool podcast to listen to. And that's the number one thing that you can do to get more in our community that are joining and talking about games like we like. Also by AIE, our gaming group that Sema and I are in. They're a really good group in there. AIE-guild.org if you want to jump in, especially if you need a group to play MMOs with. All of the major MMOs, it seems, we've got groups in each of them. You want to go play WoW Hardcore? There's a big group in there playing WoW Hardcore this week. Go talk to Lars and Sema and Lucy. But yeah, catch us on all of the social networks, newoverlords.com if you need any of the links. And we will put all of everything out there as soon as we can. And we will talk to you all later. I don't know where I was going with that. But let's talk about something else.
Bet you didn't see this coming!
You know, you did not. That's what Naue, the main character of Assassin's Creed, that's what she yells when she jumps out of the shadows and assassinates everyone. That's the voice clip out of Assassin's Creed Shadows.
It is not.
She's a ninja and she jumps out of the shadows and she yells, "I bet you didn't see this coming," and then stabs you. Assassin's Creed Shadows. I was waiting to see what would happen with this game because there was a whole bunch of like angst and apparently just clickbait that was out there in the lead up to this game and continues to be even a little bit of clickbait and just some weird clickbait. Even for like the Japanese government's getting involved. Just a couple statements like, "Oh, don't defacing shrines is terrible." So there was like a day one patch, so you couldn't break any of the displays in any of the shrines that you encounter in feudal Japan in Assassin's Creed Shadows. But it turns out that all of the angst that was happening has just melted away. It's flittered away. And because everyone is really liking this game. It's an amazing game. It's amazing visually, it's amazing gameplay, and it's definitely has lived up to the Assassin's Creed franchise, which everybody's kind of really happy about. There's still some left turns that you gotta roll with, and I'll talk about that. There's sort of the two characters that you kind of play. It's the two main characters are Naue and Yasuke. Yasuke is the samurai character, which isn't very assassin-y. And he cannot sneak around. He clomps around in a big armored suit and, bashes people with a big stick or with his big samurai sword. But you could say, we'll get into it. But let me break it down. Let me introduce it to you, Sema, because have you played Assassin's Creed games before? I bet you haven't.
No, I haven't.
I haven't played many of them either. I did play a little bits of Assassin's, like way back in Assassin's Creed 1 or 2. And I don't know why I flipped a bit and said, I don't like Assassin's Creed games. I don't know why I did that, but I kind of did. Because I felt like some assassin gameplay, sneak gameplay, I don't like in games. And I'm really liking it, how it's evolved to in either modern day or in this game in particular. What I don't like and I didn't like was the assassin gameplay where you had to like sit in the shadow or sit around the corner and you had to like watch the intricate pathing of like 3 different guards. And each one of them is like walking in a circle, and you had to like time the timing so that you would then like sneak through and like pause and then sneak through and pause and sneak through and pause, so that this rote paths of all of 3 of these 3 that you like made it through, because you completely fail if any of them see you. And I just like got kind of bored of that kind of thing and didn't like it very much. The sort of the old stealth games that kind of worked that way. And maybe I was even mischaracterizing it, the little bits that I played of Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, where I was not liking that. Well, however it is, it's not that. The gameplay can be much more forgiving. The stealthing and the stealth puzzles are more about like assessing the situation from the outside, deciding how you'd like to approach it. And if you do like get noticed, you can like bug out. You can go run away and come back another day. And it's not like an instant fail and the screen goes to black and you failed and you're done. So the gameplay feels both forgiving. It feels more like you're trying to figure out a way to approach the situation. So like more intelligence rather than just like the timing of go, stop, go, stop, go, stop. And then the gameplay evolved also between, if you do need to fight, you have options. So even though you tried to stealth through and you got discovered, you might end up with a bunch of options for, now that you're discovered, to fight your way out and maybe still complete the mission because you're going to assassinate the person you need to assassinate and you can fight your way out. So it's really been fun for me in that way. The other part that's interesting that I just wanted to sort of take a step back and as to introduce to people that if you haven't played this before, Assassin's Creed games are sci-fi games. And I didn't realize this. That's another thing I kind of like missed. What you're actually doing, you the player, there's like a meta game. So you the player are using this advanced technology, and it has evolved over the course of the Assassin's Creed games. You're playing through using this advanced technology, and this is controlled by an AI at this point, and you're like jacked in Matrix style to play into the memories and life of these characters that you're playing. So now in Yasuke, who you're playing, they aren't you. They are memories of ancient assassins that you are jacked into to play through their experiences. And you're like learning things about them and learning their story as part of you playing through their memories. The organization, the technology that's allowing you to do this is called the Animus. And you can connect to the Animus. And there's even like Animus missions, and outside of when you're like outside in the load screen, and you can get like weekly missions that the Animus is telling you to go like, I need you to like go over to this part of these memories because there's a bit of corruption and I need you to go, recover that corrupted bit of data. So that's like a whole meta thing that's going on around outside of this that I wasn't really into before, that is fascinating and kind of cool. And there's also a story associated with that, which I am barely scratched the surface on, but you have like this guide who you don't know if it's a person or an AI or whatever, but as you start the game, it talks to you before you get into Naoya Yasuke's stories to say, hey, you're going to experience this stuff, do it, but don't get lost in it. Come find me as you kind of like learn what's going on in these memories. I'm going to need to talk to you more in the future about this though too. Because if you do get lost, if you do get sucked in and your brain gets bled away, she will have control over your life, quote unquote she. So I don't know what that is. That's like in the intro. You don't know what that is. I'm sure you're going to like learn more about that as the meta story goes on. But then that then drops you into the people's stories, Naoe's story is like the main story. So that's where it starts. A lot of storytelling here. So any questions about that so far, Sema?
Well, I had no idea. I had no idea. I thought all the Assassin's Creeds were like history games.
Apparently they all have had this animus outside of it that's wrapped around all of those history games all along.
So that's the premise and what's allowing you to relive this piece of history.
Yes. And it I think even like in the early games, it like started as like a VR headset. Then there was like a sarcophagus version of it you would jack into. Then there was like this chair version that they like jammed a Matrix style jack into your spinal cord to allow you to play through these memories. So it's like been evolving, and the organization which runs and controls the Animus has been evolving over time too. And I guess there's a little bit of nefarious aspect of who currently controls Animus right now that you're going to discover along the way as well. But yeah, so that's it. That exists. However, that's only like little bits of it, and you're not really like. Yeah, I think in past games you even like have played. You're like the player have been like outside, like almost like in a room where you're like jacking into the Animus. There's none of that really. It's just like a little bit in the load screen and a couple cutscenes that they're talking to you. Like all of the gameplay is happening as you as Naoe or Yusuke in the world. So then you get into the game. And the game is, you sort of get dropped in as Naoe, and you play a lot of Naoe's backstory as it goes along as flashbacks. But the main parts of Naoe, you do sort of like start a little bit, you get a little bit of Naoe's backstory as you sort of like you get the intro to the game, and you get a cutscene of Yusuke, who's the samurai guy, of how he sort of got sucked into the world, and you play as him for like 5 minutes. And then you play for 10 hours as Naoe, and you don't get to play as Yusuke at all. So another preconception that I had when I was learning about this game was, is it two characters and you'd like get to pick which one that you're playing as? No, it's kind of not. And in fact, the whole game is really, it's Naoe's game, but once in a while, or even as you sort of like as the game opens up into more of the open world and you just become the assassin and you've got all these people to assassinate, you can, at any moment in time, you can like go to the load screen, like the inventory screen, and as long as you're not like in like a combat zone or like in the middle of combat or like in a restricted zone, you can switch over to Yusuke at that point and say, now I want to start playing as Yusuke, which is cool. But for anybody that's playing it, some people are like, some of the criticism has been, well, if I want to play as Yusuke, it doesn't really work because he can't really stealth. He's not really good at exploring. He can't use the grapple hook to do all the climbing. And that's really what you need to do to get around the world. I would treat Yusuke more as like, almost like a mech suit. That's the way I've been sort of like thinking of when I switch over and play him. Is you play as Naoe. It's Naoe's story. Naoe is the assassin. She's got the assassin vision. She's got the grappling hook. She runs around on the rooftops. She swings around on her grappling hook and she drops from the sky and assassinates people. But once in a while, you get into these situations where there's a camp full of bandits and they're all packed in there together. And Naoe is bad at fighting a group of people. She can do it a little bit, but if you've got like 5 elites in there and they've got these big baseball bat clubs and they're bashing you in the head, well, then you might put on your mech suit, and your mech suit is Yusuke. So Yusuke gets in there. He has like 6 healing potions instead of 4. They're called rations, but it's like he has armor. He takes a lot less damage. He's not stealthy at all. His one assassinate move is he raises his samurai sword over his head. He screams at the top of his lungs and impales somebody while he's yelling. So he's not a stealthy assassin. He can't climb anything. So he walks in the front door. It's like John Wick is an assassin, right? But John Wick walks in the front door and like bang, bang, shoots everybody and shoots every single person as loudly as possible. in a lot of the John Wick scenes. That's Yasuke. He walks in the front door. He kills every single person. Naue might like scale the walls of the castle, infiltrate the room, climb along the ceiling, and assassinate the one target, and then leave, and no one knows she was there.
Right.
So that's kind of the gameplay between those two characters. But it's a long time before you even. It took me like, I think 8 hours of gameplay before I even got the option to start now play as Yasuke's play. And you have to play the story because you meet up with Yasuke in the story, and there's a reason for that. And so you don't get to like have him like join your little squad until that plays out. And then you realize sort of like why that would play out. So I don't want to spoil that part at all, but it's interesting, and there's interesting story associated with that. And the story is, some people have said the story is not great. I really like the story. I think it's fine. It's not super dynamic and, like a killer twist that's going to blow your mind. But it's an interesting story, and it makes sense. The story then also evolves as basically setting up a reason for you to need to assassinate a bunch of bad guys. The main, it's like 12 bad guys, and the way you come back to it, I really like what they do. They give you like this piece of parchment. You go to your journal screen or your objective screen, and it like lays out on your screen. The game's paused. It lays out on your screen almost like this big piece of parchment, and it has these rings. So your main storyline is this ring of 12 faces, and some of them are hidden until you discover who they are, and you got to do all this investigation, Batman style, to figure out who these people are. But like these 12 characters that you need to assassinate because they've wronged you in a really bad way. But then as you get like little side quests and discover more things around the world, additional rings get painted on this piece of parchment. And it might be like, here's 3 bad guys over here that you need to like chase down and investigate and assassinate. And there's 5 more bad guys over in this circle that are like terrorizing the merchants. So you're going to go do them. These 4 were kidnapping children. They're very bad people. So it's like they're all bad. It's a very brutal game. You're killing. It's all killing. I think I was able to spare one person because it was kind of like a gray situation, and she was as much of a victim as like she didn't actually kill anybody. And I let her live. And so then like on my parchment, I have like all these like red X's, bloody slashes over people's faces, and like one like little yellow circle that was like, here's one you spared. But you don't even get the option to spare many people. It's a very brutal game. I do have to say that. It is a killing game. You're assassinating people. Naue's assassinations are less brutal. They're still brutal. You stab people. You're mostly stabbing them in the neck with your like hidden blade thing that comes out of your wrist. Yasuke, he chops people up, man. He's all about the impaling and chopping people's heads off. So be prepared for that if you're going to be playing this game. Like, I wouldn't expect anybody to be playing this game who's not ready for assassinations.
Right.
But yeah, so Yasuke, you get the reasons of a little bit of her backstory, how she sort of went down this path to become this stealthy assassin. And she's really fun to play, and her gameplay style is really fun. But every once in a while, you might jump over into Yasuke to club a bunch of fools with a big stick.
Yeah. I'm based on the trailers that I saw anyway, I did expect the gameplay to be mostly the samurai.
Yeah, and it's very little, and it could up to none. You kind of need to play as Naue. If you even tried to play the whole rest of the game as Yasuke, I don't even think you could.
Right, because you wouldn't get the right story.
Right. And there's places you just can't go. There's like the exploration points you just can't unlock. He's like a bull in a china shop in a lot of the areas of the game, and it kind of just doesn't work. But that's okay. Naue is super cool, super fun to play. Her tool set is really cool and fun. And it's what players really expect from an Assassin's Creed game. So I think everybody's okay with that. I think everybody wants that to be the way it happens. So what else? So there's the different parts of the way the game plays are interesting. So there's the weapons and the skills. Each of them get, I think, 3 different weapon types that they specialize in. And then there are 3 different sets of additional skills, like they're ranged, like a ranged weapon or thrown weapons is another tree. And then there's like a skill tree in each of these. So Naue can play with the sword, the what's called a tanto, which is like a dagger. That's my main weapon. And then like this ball and chain weapon. That's kind of cool. And I haven't gotten the hang of yet, but I like the tanto and the thrown weapons. The tanto and the hidden blade, she can assassinate 2 people at once if you're using that weapon, which I like, which is really cool. When you're playing as Yasuke, he has the big samurai sword, or the baseball bat thing, or like a halberd spear type weapon. And then he can have either like a longbow or a gun, like a long gun. And then they each have like their assassin tree and their fighting skills tree on top of that. But the fact that it's like limited sets of weapons, I kind of like, because then the weapons are more themed to them and you don't have to worry about like a million weapon types and how do all of these work. And if you want to just pick one and stick to it, you definitely can. And they all feel good. Like Yasuke, even when she's fighting with the samurai sword, feels good. A lot of people have said the ball and chain weapon is also really good, especially when she needs to fight a few people at once. I haven't gotten into them. When you build out, you're out in the world, you do get 2 weapon slots and you just press R to swap between them. So you can always be carrying 2 different ones, like a samurai sword versus the tanto dagger. Here she's like in the video, you see if she's got the samurai sword, she can unlock an ability in that tree where it allows her to like stab someone through the doors, like the paper doors. Because if she can see their outline. You'll only get that like some abilities though with the weapon that matches it. So if you like that kind of gameplay, like you want to do the double assassination, well then you need to be using a tanto as a weapon to do that one. So it's good. It gives each of the weapons a little bit different character, a reason to play that one, maybe a reason to have it on your back bar and swap to it once in a while. And they feel really, really good. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. So there's that. There's the stealth, which is really only Naue. Yasuke can still sneak around a little bit. He can like hide behind a wall and wait for their head to come into view and hit it with a rock. But Naue is the one who's really good at that. She can climb walls. She can go prone. And when they present you a situation to use your stealth skills, there's a lot of factors that you can play with to solve how you'd like to approach it. You can climb up to the top of the castle and go in through a trap door in the roof and find your target. Or you can sneak in through a window and come in through the side. Or you can crawl under the porch. There's a gateway under the porch. You could crawl under the porch and get underneath the floorboards, and then there's a trap door you can come up from underneath. Or you can wait outside and hide in the bushes. And you can like whistle or throw a little bell that distracts somebody. And then they come over and investigate. Well, what's going on? Why did that bush whistle at me? And then you jump out of the
Right.
bush and you kill them. So you get like a lot of options in that skill set. And it's not just, well, I got to stand here and wait for those 3 guards to do their pathing thing, which is the part that I didn't like. Different times of day matter. You could go at night. Because the shadows, there's sort of like a light meter, which I'm not even very good at understanding. It's just today, as I was like prepping for this, I noticed like a tip somewhere. I'm like, oh, that's what that is. I knew it was like easier to stealth around at night, but not really why. And there is a light meter on the HUD, which I wasn't paying attention to. Where if you stick to the shadows, you're more in stealth and they don't notice you as much. So you can like play with that. That's really cool. So yeah, it's a lot to play with there, and it feels good. And if you screw up, it's forgiving in that you can like run away and come back another day or come back later. Like when they're not on high alert, or now they're in high alert. So you go in a different entrance, and hopefully the guys over there aren't on high alert and aren't like coming to try to kill you. So yeah, a lot of that kind of gameplay is really, really good. The main point of the game though is assassination. A lot of exploration, and then the assassination is points of extreme violence. But the rest of the game, the fun parts to talk about are the quiet moments of like exploration and reflection and meditation that they intersperse throughout the game in some really, really nice ways. I would say 50% of the game is like enjoying the scenery, and like they take you to part of the main story. You have to learn how a traditional tea ceremony works and participate in the tea ceremony. And you first need to go to someone to learn the steps and why you do what you do, why you turn the tea bowl to the right twice, and then you participate in the tea ceremony. And that's part of like one of the investigation missions where you're getting like information on some targets and you're questioning these people. But you have to do it first by participating in the tea ceremony and making the right choices, so they aren't like, who is this person who doesn't even know how to participate in a tea ceremony? So there's like lots of little bits like that. There's lots of exploration where you're just enjoying the scenery. And in order to advance your tree and get the skill points, you need to like go to some of these shrines and find the 5 scrolls, or pray at the 3 shrines. So there's a lot of like meditating and praying. Oh, there's a whole another like meditation mini game that is part of Naoe's advancement of her backstory, where you play through flashbacks after you sit down and do this meditation, which is a little bit of like a rhythm game. Where if you do the rhythm game, I actually felt like I was meditating a little bit. It's weird that difference between the extreme violence versus these quiet moments of like meditation and exploration and enjoying the scenery and looking at the cherry blossoms and going through the seasons and the season change and seeing the leaves fall off of the Japanese maples. It's weird.
Tricky to make that combo work too. Not if you view you call it violence, but like say the extreme action part of it, because sometimes you have, when you're playing a game and you have a goal in mind, the quiet moments seem like they're just in the way. But to make them also rewarding is a delicate balance.
Yes, and I think they're doing it really well. I imagine there could be some people that would want more action, and they might get to. In fact, I was listening to someone sort of talk about their experience, and they were saying, "Oh, I get to another one of those shrines, and I got to go pray at 3 shrines again. I wish I didn't have to do that." I could see that. You might get tired of doing that, but I think the pacing is great, and those moments aren't bothering me. The other thing, and this is a key to Assassin's Creed games, and always been sort of the case. The exploration is really, really good. Naoe is the key person you do the exploration with, and the way you open up different points on the map and quick travel points is you have to climb up to the top of this super high point. Sometimes it's like on the top of a mountain. Sometimes it's like the top of the tree. A lot of times it's on the tops of these castles where there's bad guys all around. But you use your grappling hook, you scale up, you get to the very, very tippy top. And as soon as you stand on the tippy top, now you've unlocked the quick travel point. And then, what do you do, Sema? When you get to someplace very, very high in a game?
You jump off, of course.
You jump off. And in Assassin's Creed, that's what you're supposed to do. It is so awesome. Every single time, if you get to any of those points, or almost like any high point, there's like these little flag poles that are like out from the sides of like the castles and stuff. And if you see any of those anywhere, you can jump off. And there's either like a bale of hay that you do a swan dive from 200 feet in the air and land in this bale of hay perfectly and never get hurt. And you're also hidden. So you might like dive off into the bale of hay and there might be like 10 bad guys all around you, but they don't notice anything happen. And you're hidden in the bale of hay. And then you can like whistle and then you can like stab one in the neck and pull him into the bale of hay. And like the rest of the guys are none the wiser. Anyway, that's really cool. Or there's ponds. So you might be like on the top of a mountain cliff. And there's always usually like a bird up there. So you like climb in the tree, you're getting to the very tippy top, and then like a bird flies away. So you can like look for the birds up there too. Then you know where you're going. But yeah, then you do the swan dive off into a pool of water and you're always safe. Oh, it is so satisfying. Because I would have jumped off anyway and had to reload my game. But
right.
The fact that you're supposed to do it and it works perfectly every time, it just feels great. Yeah, so that's good. Dark, light, so day, night. You know my philosophy on day, night. Don't put night in your game if it serves no purpose.
Right.
And in here, because it makes your stealthiness better and better, it feels you like welcome the night. And then the other thing, which just because it's so immersive, they do weather really well in this game. It's never too obscuring of your view, but it can be like raining and like really hard. And like the trees are blowing, and it's very immersive and very artistic. But it's not like everything is filled with fog. Like I'm in Valheim and I can't see 2 feet in front of me and there's mobs jumping out and it's done that way just to make it really, really hard. It feels really good and it's so artistic and well rendered. I like the weather. I like riding around in the rain. And then the other part of the weather that is really cool is there's a bunch of reasons where you want the game world to reset in various ways. You want the castles to reset after you've like looted them completely because you might go back in there and loot them again. And there's a reason to do that. I'll explain in a second. But the reset happens about once every hour of gameplay. And you can make it go a little bit faster. But the in-game reason for the reset is the change of the seasons. And that's all 4 seasons are represented. And the landscape and the world changes in each of those 4 seasons as well. Spring, summer, winter, fall. It changes graphically and visually. But in addition, there's little things like in the winter in particular, things are very different. Ponds that you might have used to like shallow ponds that you might have used to like go underwater and sneak up on people might be frozen over. So you can't use those anymore.
Oh, interesting.
Rooftops might have icicles along them. And if you're too close to the edge and knock off an icicle, bad guys will hear it. So there's a bunch of that kind of thing that is part of the seasons as well. But the landscape is so beautiful in the change of seasons that I've been just memorized by that too. Cherry blossoms everywhere in the spring, the changing of the leaves in the fall. You sort of look forward both from the gameplay because of the resets and from the scenery for the changing of the seasons. And then, the resources, because that leads to the hideout. So the other part of the game that's actually really cool and fun to see is the building of your hideout. So the hideout, I don't know if I have a picture of it, but the hideout is, you get to like arrange the buildings. And you get to decorate them inside and outside a little bit as well. But you're mostly just like arranging, the big part is arranging the buildings and adding buildings. Almost like WoW Warlords of Draenor, your war camp, what was it called?
Garrison.
Your garrison, where you're like swapping buildings in.
Right.
There's different buildings you'll swap in for different reasons. There's a main set that you're going to want to like unlock and get in there to start because you need the forge because that's where you upgrade your gear. You need the, I forgot what it's called, the Karasaga, It's a place where your spy network that they're based out of. Then there's like a little side building that like just gives you extra XP. There's a side building that's your stables where your mounts end up. But you can arrange them however you want. And then you can like plant trees in between. And if you go out and pet the dogs, you unlock those to place those and have those wandering around your hideout. And you can like build it up more and more and decorate it. You're unlocking decorations. You can purchase decorations from different vendors in the game. You can unlock decorations from Twitch drops. You could like spend a ton of time like playing house in the game too. And then the resources you're stealing like from the castles that you want then the castles to reset from, those are the resources you need to be gathering out in the world to be using as currency to unlock these different buildings and upgrading your weapons and doing all of that. And that's a really cool, fun part of the game too. And they've done it really well. So I've had a lot of fun with that as well. To the point where it's fun to do the side missions because you're getting rewarded by that stuff you need also. And the side missions can also be fun and engaging. And even like, there's kind of like it's like kind of like a Battle Pass live service where the Animus is telling you, hey, go do this thing. I even did a couple of those because it was rewarding and it felt good. And I got to just wander around the world and do another thing, loot another box, kill another bad guy because he was a bandit leader. And I don't mind just like existing in this world. And I think that's a good way to just sort of like to describe how this game feels good. It's not only the good gameplay, it's not only the good linear story and the good assassinations, but just existing in the world feels really good. So there you go. All right. I talked for a long time, said many words.
But it was a lot to say. I mean, it's
a lot of just all these little bits that just are now living in my mind. I'll finish off with just a couple little mini bits. Mounts. The mounts are cool. You get a horse. I think I unlocked because maybe I got. Because it's Ubisoft. I'm playing it on Ubisoft Plus, and I think you get the premium edition for that. So I got like this dragon lion mount, and that's really cool. I got to ride around on that. But you do get to mount while moving in this game. So you hold down X while you're like running down the path. And the way the mounts appear in the game is they like kind of like spawn behind you and like run up to you. But if you're running down the path and you hit X, a lot of the times the mount will come like running up beside you and you'll leap onto its back and it'll just keep on running. It's a really cool version of mount while running that I liked.
Nice.
And then Naue, while she's riding, you can hold down Alt and she'll kind of like get up on her toes and perch on the saddle. And then she can like leap off mid gallop, like to go launch herself at a target. That's cool too. I
think it sounds kind of fun that she can do different things than he can do.
Yes. Yeah. And as I said, I like pulling Yasuke out for those times when I want to like suit up and sort of like treating it that way. Not like I want to RP as a different character, but like interspersing them. They do kind of like, he has some of his own story missions that he has to go do by himself if you want to like learn more of his backstory and stuff, which is cool too. But into general gameplay, I'll be like, now she's got to do this. She's scaling up the building. Okay, now I got to this camp. Oh, this camp looks like a mess. All right, I'm going to suit up. That's just a cool way to think about it and play it too. One other little thing that I am fascinated, they are kind of very respectful of the culture. As I said, like the shrines and the sort of like how you unlock those and the tea ceremony. Definitely your character, Naue and Yasuke, shoes off inside every building, at least in non-combat. I meant to double check in the combat. I don't think like if you're like going to assassinate someone in a castle, I don't think she takes her shoes off. But it happens seamlessly and automatically. She doesn't like pause. But as soon as you walk over the threshold, she suddenly has no shoes. You kind of don't notice it until you like look, but she has no shoes when she's indoors, and none of the NPCs have shoes. And as soon as she's outdoors, her shoes are back on. But that's very consistent. You're never inside a non-combat area building with shoes on. Again, it's kind of respectful of the culture and the way things work. Just a little detail I noticed, and very consistent that always happens. You do get, this is one of the problems with Yusuke, although he's got his ranged weapons to sort of take care of it. I did get surprised at one point that there's a couple like bell towers. So these castle areas, they're like big walled areas and then like a big castle building in the middle. But as you're like, if I want to assault a castle and I want to get all the resources out of it, I'll bring out Yusuke and just have him plow through it and just bash down everything and take all the loot. But there's a couple bell towers, and I didn't realize what those were to start. If you get like found out, if people see you and they'll see him because he's just walking up the middle of the street, and they run over and they ring the bell to the bell tower. Well, now everybody knows, and you get into this wanted state. And now I'm like, oh, well, what does that mean? You are now wanted in the province, and anywhere you go, any of like the NPC the bad guy faction, who mostly ignore you if you're outside of like a combat zone. Now they're all hot to you, and you're under. They'll kill on sight for everybody everywhere until the change of the season. So again, it's not too bad, and you can just switch over or send them somewhere else, or there is even a way to use your spy network to get that cleared. But I got kind of surprised by that. I'm like, oh, well, guess he's going home for a little bit because he cannot be out and about at this moment. And then, I already talked about it. The number one thing on my list was just how good it feels to jump off all the high places. So very cool game. I would say of the new games of 2025 so far, this is definitely game of the year for me.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I like it better than Avowed. Although I really like Avowed. This is definitely, they've done such great work on this game.
I mean, that's awesome because it's from a game that you previous might have just said, oh, I don't play Assassin's Creed games.
Right.
To game of the year for you. That's nice.
Yeah. So a little bit of a surprise for me in that way. I appreciate it so much from the game design and development perspective, and from the fun of the gameplay perspective, all of that, which again makes me almost sad that Atomfall is coming out tomorrow, and I'm going to be playing a little bit that this weekend, because I would be playing this in non-Star Wars time. It's fun. But all right, I've talked enough about that. I think we can wrap it up. I think I saw a couple fun things in the chat room I think we'll talk about in the post show as well. There is some sort of that MMO style of a game versus live service and where that's going in the industry. I think that is a really good question from Lore Online that warrants probably maybe even like a deeper discussion in a future episode that everybody can sort of think about. So if you have thoughts on that out there, send those to us. Where you see the industry going, where it kind of maybe needs to go from a business perspective, of why that's happening, and what you think of it. But anything else for this show before we wrap up for today, Sema?
No.
Okay. Well, I know you didn't get to talk very much today. Well, good.
I have a big thought, but we can talk about that for another show.
All right. Well, we'll pull that in. We'll hear more from Sema next week. Sorry, everybody. It was me yapping quite a bit, but very excited. Like the game. Game of the year for me so far. But I would say like a 9 out of 10 for me in terms of kind of game. If it was also a survival game, it would be a 10 out of 10. So there you go. Or, MMO, multiplayer, bunch of friends. But that's it for today. All the Fiend subscribe links, of course, are on newoverlords.com, and our video is up on YouTube/newoverlords. Please come chat with us in our Discord at newoverlords.com/Discord. And you can also follow on all the social networks, and we'll keep you up to date there too. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.